What's a scary or disturbing fact that would probably keep most people awake at night? When an autopsy is performed, the organs are removed, weighed, sliced, and placed into a plastic bag. This includes the brain and tongue. Once they're finished, they put everything together in the plastic bag and place it in the chest cavity. So when you're buried, your brain is actually in your chest. In child porn cases, someone has to actually watch the video beginning to end, so they can testify about it in court to seal a conviction. That's gotta be the most mentally and emotionally stressing job ever. You could have a brain aneurysm with zero symptoms. Any day it could rupture and kill you from significant blood loss. Happened to my mom's friend right in front of her. The seemingly perfectly healthy woman died at 40 without warning during a work trip and while having drinks with her friends. One second she was laughing, the next second she was on the ground. Never woke up again. My poor mom was the one that had to call her husband and kids. When swimming in stagnant water you could inhale an amoeba which eats its way through your nose and then eats your brainstem. You can get a flesh-eating amoeba from a water park. It's estimated that there's somewhere around 25 to 50 serial killers that are active each year in the US. The serial killer Richard Chase would try random houses to break into. If the door was unlocked, he saw it as being an invitation. If it was locked, he saw it as a sign that he was unwelcome. You just made me double check my front door was unlocked. 30% of the weight of solid feces is dead bacteria. This is actually super interesting. In the US, if you are the first patient to ever receive that type of implant, or if your implant is part of an alpha study, you have no legal rights to know that. You can flat out ask your doctor and they're allowed to lie to your face and say they've implanted hundreds of these devices before, when you're literally the first one. Cancer is extremely common. You likely have cancer right now. The only thing stopping you from going terminal are your immune system and more cancer. That's right. Cancer can get cancer that kills the cancer. On average, you will walk past 36 murderers in your lifetime. Hopefully the next time you do go past one, they'll say, no, not that one, too good looking. Back about 10 years ago I went to this pizza joint for lunch and this one guy brought a slice out to me. That night he stabbed and killed a guy. I'm just glad I didn't complain about my slice being a little cold. Cold being big trouble. Pigs will eat humans if given the chance. So will tigers apparently. The one that I remember most often is this one. Either we are completely alone in this universe, or we are not. Crazy to think about, but cool either way. In the 70s 80s, the first case of many Southeast Asian refugees in the US who died screaming in their sleep was recorded. This was common for Lao Hmong men who lived through the Cambodian genocide and CIA recruitment for the Vietnam War. It's theorized that this was an extreme form of PTSD. One case, the man had stayed up 4 days fearing he would be attacked if he slept. He drank coffee and lied to his parents about sleeping. He did everything he could to keep from sleeping. When he finally fell asleep, his parents thought this crisis was over. Then they heard screams in the middle of the night. By the time they got to him, he was dead. He died in the middle of a nightmare. Edit. I said first recorded, but I'm dumb and this was not the first record of it. Edit 2. Some articles from the time. The US and Russia have over 10,000 nuclear warheads pointed at each other right now ready to launch at a moment's notice. Enough to destroy civilization as we know it many times over. I was kidnapped as a child and ever since then I always close all blinds in the house as soon as it's sunset because I'm still so paranoid. After all these years I constantly think that someone is stalking me. It's uncomfortable. I'm sorry you have to live through that. No one should have to experience such trauma. Sounds horrible. I would suggest seeing a therapist or adopting a pet so that you have someone to keep you company, sane, and maybe even protect you if you don't have one already. Eventually all of human existence and history will be wiped out and no one or nothing will ever know we ever existed. I always think that the sun is the one that'll eliminate us. Most Reddit users walk the world freely and unrestrained. You probably already escaped death or serious injury in your lifetime by simply being in the right place at the right time. The door separating you from any and all murderers in the world is only about an inch of wood and barely an obstacle to someone that is determined to murder you in your own home. People's conscious decisions are usually nothing of the sort. They are usually made subconsciously. Then, all the conscious mind normally does is build narratives about the previously made decisions. Those narratives consciously seem to arise concurrently with the decisions, but really they arise only afterward. Research on split brain patients has proven all of this. Simply put, your brain makes choices without you knowing, then tricks you into thinking the choices were yours by allowing you to invent gratifying reasons why you supposedly chose them. If the Yellowstone supervolcano erupted, it would decimate most of America. It's unlikely to happen anytime soon, but it's 2020, the year of absolute fucking shit. So, it wouldn't surprise me at this point. At any given moment, someone may be contemplating your demise. At least someone out there is thinking about me. Think of someone you love, but only see a few times a year. Now take a guess at how many years until one of you dies. How many more times in your lifetime are you going to see that person? If you moved away from your parents and only see them 3 times a year and you expect them to live another 30 years, that's less than 100 times you will ever see them again. Here's 3. Goats were used as a medieval torture method. Strap someone to a chair for 2 days, with their feet dipped in salt water. Release a goat into the room. The goat will lick the salt of the victim's feet, and since a goat's tongue is super coarse it will strip the flesh off down to the bone. No pleading, and no mercy. The goat won't care about the screams. In very ancient times, a way of execution was to bend 2 palm trees together, tie someone's ankles to them, and let the palm trees go. They would immediately spring up, ripping the victim in two. It's better to pick up a human head with 2 hands, because it's as heavy as a bowling ball and the weight is uneven. I'm not sure about picking it up by the hair, because I'm pretty sure it would be slick with blood. Assuming you live long enough to die of old age, due to the way your perception of time changes as you age, you've lived half of your perceived lifespan by age 25. Years ago I saw an episode of Monsters Inside Me where this guy was doing something outside, and a fly flew into his eye. It only made contact for about a microsecond, but it was enough time for it to lay eggs. After they hatched they started eating his eye from the inside, and he was starting to go blind until a doctor figured out what was wrong. Just imagine that, getting your eye eaten from the inside, and losing your sight all, because a fly very briefly made contact with you. Ever since I learned about this, I get really paranoid when there is a fly around my face, because this could possibly happen to me. During the Second World War, the Nazi experimented and used gassing van to kill the Jews. Basically, the exhaust pipe was diverted into the van, where the Jews were locked. Many of the people were suffocated and died from the gas. In some cases, babies would survive when wrapped in a blanket and covered by the mother. The Nazis would then split the babies' heads on trees. Found in Nazi Germany and the Jews 1933-1946 by Saul Friedlander. Page 280. The fact that NASA said, if the public knew even a fraction of what we know, you people wouldn't be able to sleep at night. You can actually wake up during surgery. But the worst part is that you are still paralyzed. So you can feel everything what they do to you, but you can't signal to them that you are conscious. This is one of my worst fears. One day, or should I say a moment in time, the universe will end. Every star will die out, leaving neutron stars to roam the empty galaxy. And when the last pair of neutron stars collide to make black holes, there will no longer be light in the universe. And when the last black hole dies off, the universe will just be an empty space of nothingness. This is more sad. Some hospitals have chilled cribs for stillborn babies. They look like normal cribs, but they are cooled. It's designed for families to say goodbye before the child is taken away. Some hospitals even provide a photography service for these families. You can even donate money, so more hospitals have these cribs. It's sad that something like that needs to exist, but kind for families in that situation. That with something as simple as your phone number people can rob you blind. It's called SIM switching. It's cheap and relatively easy to do, and it ruins lives. There's a type of wasp that when it stings you the best thing for you to do is to just lay down in the fetal position and just start crying/screaming, because its venom is so powerful. I can't stand the thought of knowing my children will die one day. Hopefully, it is long after I'm gone. However, I'm haunted every day by the fact that these little humans I love so much will one day cease to exist, even if I'm not here. I get really bad anxiety over this and find myself crying during the day. I think I need help. In a few billion years, if life still exists on Earth, they will not be able to observe space because the universe is constantly expanding. Even with the most powerful telescopes, they will only see the void. As a subpoint, this will also probably prevent us from ever contacting alien life, even if such life exists. As a second subpoint, eventually all stars and planets will be destroyed and nothing will exist but black holes in the void. And that if the acceleration of the universe expanding doesn't cause atoms and subatomic particles to rip themselves apart, destabilizing all of existence. If you have a dog and you die in your house, your dog would eat your face if it had no more food or it ran out. He is genetic, no matter how many things you have happened with him. Even if he loves you, it is for survival. The one thing that keeps me up at night is this irrational fear that people could be standing outside of my bedroom window or in my closet, waiting for me to fall asleep. It's been a fear of mine so long as I can remember. My nightmares always circulate around that fear. People can be anywhere and everywhere, and they terrify me more than anything. Knowing there are people very close to you that are homeless and desperate. Knowing that the government has no plans for these people. The fact there is around 860,000 registered sex offenders in the United States and more than 400,000 people get murdered each year.